Who is the best midfielder in the world? There's not necessarily a wrong answer to this question. You could be thinking of Rodri. You could be thinking of Tchouaméni. You could be thinking of Joshua Kimmich. You could be thinking of Camavinga. There are so many good defensive midfielders, number sixes in Europe. And the notable thing is they are all key to their team's success. Think about the role that Rodri plays that they can. Now, ask yourself this question. Do Tottenham have that player? Do Tottenham have that number six who will dictate the play, who will control things, sit in front of the defence and ultimately be the difference between drawing or winning or losing? You can make your own conclusions. For me, I think that's a position we lack in. Let's go through the midfield options for Tottenham. So we have Archie Gray, Yves Bissouma, Rodrigo Bentancur. Those three are the ones that you would argue have more of a defensive side to their game. They are the guys that are likely going to sit a bit further back, and then they will allow the likes of Pat Matasar, Lucas Bergvall, James Maddison, Dejan Kulusevski to play in that more advanced area of the pitch, of the midfield. Those are the players who have the licence to go forward a bit more under Ange Postecoglou. But if we go back and we have a look at those defensive-minded players that I just mentioned, are any of those a traditional number six? A defensive midfielder, a technician? Well, we haven't seen too much of Archie Gray yet, and he could perhaps be the answer to our problems, but we don't know that yet. We are not sure, and we can't throw all of our hope and rely on him to be that person that controls the midfield and takes us to that next level. Yves Bissouma is probably the next closest, but I do think he lacks in several areas to really be that effective number six. Okay, yes, he's good on the turn, he's good at playing through the tight spaces, and he can make the occasional great interception and great tackle. He has a lot of problems. We've seen recently with his attitude problems causing him to be suspended from the squad, and his form went completely out the window after being sent off against Luton last season. He still hasn't fully recovered. He looked okay in some of the pre-season matches, but, you know, he's let himself down again heading into the first game of the season and beyond. Let's clear something up, because I do think people get perhaps a little bit confused about what a number six is and the role that a number six plays at that top level. We are looking at a traditional defensive midfielder or defensive playmaker. Someone who acts as the main passing link between the midfield and the defence. The person that is going to drop in and pick up the ball and dictate the play. For Tottenham, we mostly see Rodrigo Bentancur and sometimes even James Maddison do this. We saw it from Maddison in the game against Leicester on Monday night. These are the players that can initiate attacks from deep positions, but also protect the back line. If we want to commit players like we so often do under Ange Postecoglou's system, we need that number six in there who is going to sweep and mop up if anything comes back our way. We get hit on the counter-attack so much under this manager, and it feels like there is always space for the opposition to operate in. We need to plug that gap, and that is why I think we need to bring a number six in, and not just a young 18 or 19-year-old number six, someone that is instantly going to make us better. Now, I've already mentioned some of the best midfielders in Europe at the moment, but I just want to go back to Rodri because he is the perfect example. There is a reason why Manchester City's record without him is so much worse than when he is on the pitch. He controls everything. He is everywhere on the pitch. He can make the tackles. He can make the interceptions. He can score. He can assist. His passing range is fantastic. He is just a brilliantly well-rounded player. And yes, I know that I'm talking about arguably the best team in Europe, or at least one of them. But there are so many across a lot of teams in Europe. Aston Villa have just brought one in Amadou Onana. Bayern Munich have just brought one in João Paulinho. They have Joshua Kimmich as well who can play that role. So for me, as someone who can sit back and have a look at what the potential problems are for Tottenham going into the new season, that is a problem position. We spent money on a new striker. We've brought in a couple of young talents, a new winger. But for me, it cannot be classed as a good transfer window until we bring that midfielder in. Who is available? Who would be a good fit for Tottenham? Well, there are a couple of names, and you may not agree with all of them. You may hear some of these names and think that is an awful choice, and that is completely fair enough. But as we know, and as we found out with the striker situation, it's a very saturated market at the moment. It is very, very difficult to prize players away from their clubs, especially now the season has fully started as well. There have been very mild links to Locatelli from Juventus. Now, of course, he's someone that rose up through the ranks over in Italy, played exceptionally well for the Euro team that won in 2021, but he's fallen out of favour, hence the links to Tottenham. Douglas Luiz has come in and completely replaced him. And while he perhaps hasn't been in the best form over the last 12 months or so, there are still some promising statistics that would suggest he could make an impact at a club like Tottenham. For example, he averages around about 7 progressive passes per game, ranking him in the top 85 percentile for midfielders in Europe, as well as committing 1.92 average clearances per game as well. So that's a difference that you can see between his attacking motions and his defensive motions. João Gomez from Wolves is another name that has been doing the rounds and there is no doubting that he would be a massive coup for Spurs. However, I do think Wolves want around £80 million for him, and having already lost Pedro Neto and Max Kilman this summer, it looks highly unlikely that he would be someone Tottenham could sign. Having said that, again, he ranks really well in some of those key number 6 traits that we'd need. For example, he averages 4.38 tackles per 90 minutes. That ranks him in the 99th percentile for midfielders. He also makes 1.81 blocks per 90 as well. Not only that, but he is successful in completing take-ons. So he is incredibly well-rounded. I would love to see us go for someone like Ederson from Atalanta as well. His stats are phenomenal, and having watched him a few times as well, he would be insane. He averages 6.60 progressive passes per game, 1.37 interceptions, 2.42 tackles, 1.37 blocks, and 1.11 aerial duels won. All of this per 90 minutes. Compared to every other sort of defensive midfielder I've looked at and researched, he is the one that tops the list for me. But look, I'm sitting here making this video suggesting that Tottenham do need to go out and sign a defensive midfielder, a number 6. I'm not saying that's going to happen, unfortunately. Ange may well trust the players he has in his squad already, and we know that he doesn't want to bring anyone in unless it is the perfect player for him. The reports have come out saying that it's not a priority, that he trusts Lucas Bergvall and Archie Gray based on the positive pre-seasons they've had to be able to do those roles. While I completely understand that viewpoint, I don't agree. It is something that could shore us up, make us more defensively sound, and make us more solid overall as a team and as a squad. I do hope we see some movement over the next couple of days before the transfer window shuts, because I do think it would have a significant impact on our season, especially playing in multiple competitions and the Europa League as well. But let me know what you think. Do you think Spurs should be going out and signing an established number 6 to plug the gaps where we've been exposed so often under Ange Postecoglou? Or do you think we're fine as we are? Can Yves Bissouma do the job? Can the likes of Archie Gray come in and establish themselves as a regular starter in that number 6 role? It's a very, very interesting debate, and that's why I wanted to make the video on it. But ultimately, we'll see what happens. That's it from me. Thank you so much for watching the video. Make sure you like it and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. And as always, come on you Spurs.